Gold is a thermometer, barometer, whatever you want to call it. And that is the reason for the last 50 years, gold and silver have had their prices suppressed. And actually, it's 49 years since 1976 when the COMEX futures and options were created. And I mean, there's all kinds of evidence showing that naked contracts have been sold in mass to try to suppress the price. So it's definitely a thermometer. I think you have to walk away from you look at the price of gold and you walk away from it thinking, well, something's really not right. Something's not right in the monetary system. Something's not right from a fiscal standpoint. And certainly things are not right from a geopolitical standpoint. We should have already had some sort of correction because gold and silver have been in the overbought area for quite a while. It would be logical that gold would stop at a round number of 4,000. It would be logical that silver would be stopped at the $50 number, which was hit in 1980, again in 2011. And of course, the alternative is gold and silver just blow through those numbers. First off, I think it's important to understand that it's not just monetary and fiscal policy that has lit the fire under the metals. You go back to October of 2022 when the 300 billion of Russian reserves were confiscated. The following day is when gold started moving. I think we were, 1670 to 1700 at that point, and gold has really been a tractor in first gear. We've not had anything more than a 10% correction during that entire time since late 2022. Silver has been mentioned as a strategic metal by Russia. It's been mentioned as a strategic reserve by the United States. India, just recently we found out that they've doubled their imports of silver, not in dollar or rupee terms, but in physical ounce terms. So the supply-demand situation on silver is very tight. And I don't know if this is because of year-end, but there's reports of a lot of mints around the world are out of silver. They're not releasing silver. Now, I don't know if that's because we're in the final quarter of the year and they're not making any more 2025s. If we were a week or two into November, I would say that's the reason, but I think this is too early. And my thought process, frankly, coming up to this number that we're at now, very close to 50, my thought process was wondering, will we have a failure to deliver and that blows silver through 50 and wipes the system out? Or do we get through 50 and then all of a sudden the amount of blood in the water, the sharks go crazy and blow it through 50 and create a failure to deliver? I don't know which comes first, the chicken or the egg, but I've been on the record for quite a while, close to 10 years now, that there'd be ultimately the finale would include a failure to deliver of both gold and silver. And it's always been my thought process, because it's such a small market, that silver would be the one to go first. So I don't know. We're in uncharted territory here.
To truly understand the spark under the metals rally, we need to go back to October 2022, when roughly $300 billion in Russian reserves were frozen. That moment triggered a surge in gold from around $1,670 to $1,700 per ounce. This event signified more than monetary policy. It was geopolitics, freeze frame. Since then, gold has acted like a tractor in first gear, barely correcting more than about 10% throughout the next stretch, in itself unusual in a high volatility asset. Silver, meanwhile, has found new strategic labels, being named a reserve metal by several nations.
Gold is a thermometer, barometer, whatever you want to call it. And that is the reason for the last 50 years, gold and silver have had their prices suppressed. And actually, it's 49 years since 1976 when the COMEX futures and options were created. And I mean, there's all kinds of evidence showing that naked contracts have been sold in mass to try to suppress the price. So yeah, it's definitely a thermometer. I think you have to walk away from you look at the price of gold and you walk away from it thinking, well, something's really not right. Something's not right in the monetary system. Something's not right from a fiscal standpoint. And certainly things are not right from a geopolitical standpoint. Yeah, that's why I was going to mention that to you when you said, are they going to, will gold and silver continue? I think they are pointing to a crisis. And I think it's really important to understand that if and when silver or gold fails to deliver, that will take the entire system down within 72 hours. This is not playtime anymore, where we are at the end of an empire. And I mean, the question is, where does the failure start? And I mean, it can start from anywhere. I mean, we could have World War III tomorrow morning. You could have banks going under. You could have derivatives blowing up. I mean, there's so many different potentials to blow this thing up. And I think if you're looking at it from the standpoint of we've got a year, 3 years, 5 years, I don't think that's even possible at this point. This thing is going to come to a head. And I mean, everything that the BRICS has been doing, that tells you right there that the world is moving away from the dollar system. And the dollar system is a Ponzi scheme. And the thing about a Ponzi scheme is once you shut off or slow down the new money coming into it, it implodes. And the new money coming into dollars, it's definitely less and very well could be negative because you've got the rest of the world turning away from dollars and wanting to be in a system where there's free, fair trade settlement. I mean, foreigners are sick and tired of shipping widgets and getting dollars in return because dollars, there's people out there way smarter than you and I, Gary, that have figured this out, and they figured it out before you and I did. That they're getting nothing for their something. And that's not the way people want to trade. That's like if you want to call it anti-capitalism. It's hegemony.
Silver isn't just the junior sibling to gold anymore. It has emerged as a strategic reserve in its own right, with nations like India doubling physical ounce imports. Industrial demand, mint supply shortages, and whispers of delivery failures have all converged. Mints around the world reportedly face constraints releasing silver. The question is, will we simply stall near $50, or will a failure to deliver, a structural market shock, send silver explosively higher? In a smaller market like silver's, that question has far greater resonance than it might appear.
Yeah, if they fail to deliver, then what is the value of a contract that can't perform? And the answer is zero. And if you zero out a part of the derivative chain, now you have humongous winners and humongous losers. The problem is, if the losers can't pay the winners, then the winners become losers. And think about it from this standpoint. The world runs on credit, and credit is only forthcoming if there's confidence. If confidence breaks, if confidence is gone, and credit stops, nothing in the real world will continue to work. You won't have shipping, you won't have distribution, you won't have production, you won't have anything. And as far as my 72-hour comment is concerned, how long can a person go where every morning you wake up, you're only 72 hours away from anarchy? And I say that because if people don't eat for 3 days, you're going to have anarchy. And if credit breaks, you're not going to get a loaf of bread to the store. You're not going to get tomatoes or beef or anything else to the store. And I've said this for years. The world runs 100% on credit. There's virtually no cash and carry. I mean, think about it. Think about your Walmart. Think about your grocery store. They work on 30, 60, 90-day credit. Think about builders. Think about your trucker. How's he going to get fuel if the gas station and the fuel industry lose credit? Then the fuel's not running. If the trucker doesn't have credit, he can't fill up his truck. Nothing moves. Everything will grind to a halt when credit stops.
For decades, gold and silver have been treated as thermometer and barometer of systemic trust. Ever since the establishment of futures and options markets decades ago, there have been allegations of contract writing, naked shorting, and price anchoring. The implication, if you look at today's prices and shrug, nothing feels right, you're seeing the symptom of eroding trust, not just in currencies, but in fiscal policy, monetary systems, and global reserve flows. When treaties or contracts stop being trusted, the ripple can race far faster than the underlying asset move.
That's not Bill Holter's opinion. It's not made up. I mean, that's a fact. When credit stops, everything stops. The real world stops because everything you touch on a daily basis, do this for an hour. Just the stuff that you do on a normal daily basis, everything you touch, credit has been involved in it. It'll be far worse in the West simply because everything is based on dollars. Everything's based on U.S. treasuries. And you're asking whether it's a process or a light switch. We're in the process. We've been in the process for a few years now. When the light switch goes off, that's when you get to that 72-hour window. And I firmly believe that light switch is a failure to deliver. Because the failure to deliver tells you that those contracts are worth zero. And that will take the derivatives chain down. And it will also destroy confidence in U.S. treasuries. How's the U.S. Treasury going to borrow? Their only buyer will be the Federal Reserve.
If you're sitting in the driver's seat of this story, ask, what happens if a major delivery contract fails? The argument here, a failure to deliver on gold or silver isn't just a hiccup. It could pull the entire derivative chain down within a short window, perhaps 72 hours. Credit flows evaporate, supply chains freeze, transport halts, factories stop, banks get nervous. The world as we know it runs on credit. And if confidence collapses, so does the system built on leverage and scheduled pay-ins. The suggestion, we're not 3 to 5 years away. We may already be in the process.
You're already seeing that massive wall of debt come due. Look at the subprime. Look at subprime. Look at commercial real estate. Look at auto loans. Matter of fact, I was watching baseball last night, and I hadn't seen an ad like this in years, but they ran 4 or 5 times. They ran an ad. Are you behind on your mortgage? If you're behind on your mortgage, call us. We'll help you restructure it, blah, blah, blah. I haven't seen one of those ads in years and years. Look at the traffic flow going through Las Vegas. Everything is shrinking. And what that tells me is we have 2 economies. We have the financial economy and the real economy, Main Street. And money is getting scarce on Main Street. And we've seen this. I've seen this. Precious metals dealers have seen this. There's been massive selling for the last 9 months in North America. And I pretty much ask every client, why they're selling. And 90+% is because I need the money. Well, I think the key is in your question, I didn't hear New York or London. And the reason being, the rest of the world understands that it's a fractional reserve system. And they don't want to store in New York. They don't want to store in London. They don't trust the West. Ultimately, when trust breaks, what do? You get a currency. You get a currency and also sovereign treasuries that go lower in value because confidence is lessening. And that on its own is inflationary.
The global pivot away from the U.S. dollar system is not marginal. Nations are forming alternative settlement systems, skipping the dollar as intermediary. When the dollar is more a credit card with an unlimited balance than a store of value, you're looking at a system nearing its limit. The historical analogy. In 1933, the U.S. revalued gold to reinflate the system. The lesson. Money created by printing tends to lose purchasing power. Physical metals created by labor and energy hold a different structural value. With debt rising, trust falling, and reserve flows shifting, gold and silver may not just be hedges, they may become central protagonists.
I think, yes, but this is the end of, it's the end of this system. It's the end of fractional reserve. It's the end of, the U.S. has a credit card with an unlimited balance on it. It's the end of all that. If you go back to 1933, when the gold was confiscated, and then shortly thereafter they revalued gold up 70+% from $20.67 to $35. That actually, it reflated the system, if you will. When I say reflated the system, it made the collateral itself worth more, so that there could be lending, that there was room for lending. When Nixon went off the gold standard, the gall was taking $35, sending it to the U.S. and saying, send us an ounce of gold. There was inflation already embedded in the system, and investors knew that, and that's why they wanted gold rather than dollars, because a dollar has long-term only one trajectory, and that's downward, because it's freely printed. It's printed by man, as opposed to gold, which is created by God and has an absolute limited supply. I mean, you have to use capital, labor, and equipment to create a 1 ounce round or a bar or whatever. Gold is only...
And energy.
Right, and energy. Gold is only proof positive that those were used to create that 1 ounce round or bar or whatever what have you. How difficult is it to create $1 trillion? I mean, just go back to 2008. You remember the TARP fight over $700 billion? People were freaking out. Well, $700 billion is, it's nothing today. But, and what my point being, you can create trillions of dollars for nothing. You cannot create trillions of anything in gold terms. You can't create it. You got to work for it.